Hi team, and welcome back to our Anchor Fact series on the history of India. Today we are going to talk about the first time India, indeed all of South Asia from Pakistan in the west to what is today Myanmar in the east, was truly integrated as one empire. This is extremely important in the history of modern India because however many times India was partly combined into one empire, whether it was by the Maurya Empire of ancient history or the Mughal Empire of modern times, the result was never a united India. Only the empire known as the British Raj united India. This is not a happy anchor fact for post-colonial India, but it is, as we say, what it is. In fact, if it were not for the British takeover of India, India probably would not exist at all. It would probably be one of two things. The first possibility is it would still be an anarchy, broken up into many separate kingdoms. That is certainly what Indian history leads us to expect. The other possibility, however, is that India would be a Muslim country, with its Hindu identity destroyed. That's what the Mughal Empire wanted to accomplish. We've already seen that the Qutb minaret is a powerful symbol of the earlier waves of Muslim conquest penetrating into and across India. The greatest symbol of the impact of Islamic culture on India comes to us via the Mughals, however. It is the fact that the most famous monument in all of India is not a Hindu temple, but a symbol of Muslim architecture. I'm speaking, of course, of the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is a tomb constructed by and for Shah Jahan, a Mughal ruler for him and his wife. It features the classic symbol of Muslim architecture, which is the presence of the four minarets flanking the main structure. The fact that the most famous building in India is a tomb for a Muslim ruler says it all. However large the Mughal Empire became, however, its control over India was only partial. Many local rulers, whatever titles they held, such as the Nawab of Bengal, were obliged to provide money and troops to the Mughal emperor in times of war, but they were not directly controlled. Then, as we saw in the last lesson, the Europeans, and ultimately the British exclusively, began to whittle away at that control. In the 7 Years' War, they took control of Bengal, which eventually became Bangladesh. Over the next 100 years, they repeated the same procedure dozens of times, until the Mughal Empire was no more. In 1858, the British government then passed the Government of India Act, taking control of the empire that had actually been forged by the British East India Company and made it into a British colony, known as the British Raj. During the period of the British Raj, the British government engaged in a form of imperialism that poses many challenges to us as we look back. There is no doubt there was warfare and brutality. It was, most certainly, an empire. Anyone that violently opposed British rule was certainly either killed or imprisoned. At the same time, however, the kind of imperialism practiced by the British is known as tutelary imperialism. What that means is the British thought of themselves as tutoring the Indian people in order to help them eventually become independent. One example of this is the government of India and its civil service. At first, it was dominated completely by the British, but over time, its ranks were increasingly filled by Indians themselves. They were being tutored in the art of democracy. How was this possible? In a word, through education. The British established schools and universities throughout the country, and even permitted wealthy Indians to travel to England and study in English universities. This is exactly how Mohandas Gandhi became such an important person. He became a lawyer by studying in England, as we will see in the next lesson, focusing on Gandhi. In addition, the British built a system of railroads and telegraphs to link the country together in a way that had never been possible before. Through transportation and communication, the very large country of India became one for the first time. The fact that India was able to be a truly united country with a functioning democracy after it became independent shows that the British were indeed proper tutors. Of course, they were also demanding rulers. When World War I came along, India was obliged to participate. As a colony within the British Empire, it did not have a choice. So, along with Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, it had to fight on the English side against Germany. Many Indians resented this, in particular because some were now Muslims, and they did not want to be in a war against another Muslim country, in this case, the Ottoman Empire, which was an ally of Germany. Nonetheless, over 1 million Indian troops served in World War I in the British Army, and 60,000 died for the British cause. This is part of the reason why, when World War II started, it became a priority for leaders of Indian independence, such as Mohandas Gandhi, to encourage Indians to resist serving in the British Army. We'll look at the impact of Mohandas Gandhi, the most recognizable person in all of Indian history, in our next mini lesson. See you then.